Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I've learned as I've grown into the person that I am today. And I brought the usual suspects. I brought the 2 Melody Beatty books, and then I brought the Year of Positive Thinking by Cindy Spiegel, Daily Inspiration, Wisdom, and Courage. So, let's get right into it. It is July 7th. I cannot believe it is July 7th already. Let's get into the year of Positive Thinking and see what it has to say to us today. Here we go. Whenever I pick this book, it's always just like one line, you know, which I can talk about for 10 minutes. So, July 7th, you are too big for boxes. Do not shrink to fit into boxes that are too small to contain all of your magnificence. Oh God, I love this meditation because this is to me an example of be too much, you know? And if you watch my drama channel video, my Peter Monn channel, I always talk on there about being too much, right? And being too much to me is, it doesn't have to be this like being loud and in people's faces and all that kind of stuff. You know, I relate it to talking about that I've always been somebody that gets very excited and loud and storytelling and whatever, and people all my life have been kind of like this, like, hold it down, you know? And, I mean, as soon as somebody does that, it like, it like fades my glory, so to speak. Like, it makes me so sad, because, like, I'm really excited and happy in that moment, and then somebody goes, and what it does is it makes me recognize that in their eyes, there is something wrong with what I am doing. And so being too much is really about living your truth, living your authentic, genuine truth, and realizing that those people that are telling you to quiet down, that you're too much, whether that's because you literally, like myself, are too loud or talking too fast or telling too many stories or whatever, and they're quieting you down, or whether they're trying to quiet you down in life by your hairstyle or the clothes that you wear or the music that you listen to or the movies that you watch or the books that you read or just who you are in general, right? Or the way that you decorate your house or anything about you, you know? Like, I talked about this here the other day. My mom, like, driving onto the street when I was growing up as a kid, and she would always say, you know, like, have to turn my music down or the neighbors will think I'm some wild lady, you know? And it's kind of like that mentality of my mom selling out to not allowing herself to be too much, you know, but instead kind of adhering to this suburban norm of what she thought that other people expected of her to be like, you know, this suburban housewife that can't listen to loud music and can't be herself. And one of the sad things is, you know, my mom, she moved into this condo that I now own and live in, and she moved in here when I was, when I was 22 and a half, and so she didn't really come into her own until she moved into this condo and until she, like, you know, was able to be who she wanted to be. And, you know, it was around that time that my mom got sober as well. She got sober 6 months after that, and she just started dressing the way that she wanted to. You know, I've told this story on my vlog a lot. My mom was extremely big-breasted, and she was very short, and she would always talk about how people stared right at her breasts. Like, men, when they would talk to her, they would look right at her breasts. And my mom had told me this story that when she was, like, growing up, that her stepfather had found these guys looking in her window, and when the police came, okay, looking at my mom through the window, they asked my mom, do you wear tight sweaters to, you know, to school? Are you trying to entice these boys and whatever? And my mom, like, in her mind, she always had this idea, right, that she was doing something wrong, that it was, you know, when people would talk to her and they would look at her chest, it was always, you know, that she was doing something wrong. And so her entire life she wanted a breast reduction, and my father is he's a retired plastic surgeon now, but and she'd always say, you know, like, I can't believe I was married all these years to a plastic surgeon and I never got a breast reduction, you know? And she would talk about how painful it was, and I remember probably 3 to 4 years before my mom passed away, she had watched this Oprah where they were talking. I don't know what's funny to me. I can just remember the conversation on the phone. But we had watched this, my mom had watched this Oprah where they had talked about, like, if you have the appropriate size of bra, like, it can really improve back pain and things like that. So my mom, she marched into the store and she got her appropriate breast size. And what she realized is she had been wearing the wrong size for years and years and years. And I remember she called me up. Now, I've told this on my vlog, so I'll tell it over here. My mom called me up and she goes, I'm so embarrassed. And I said, what? And She talked about how she had gone in and got sized, and she said, I'm a J. She said, I didn't even know that they made J's. She said, and I had to special order these bras and whatever. But then when she got these bras, and she only, my mom said she only ordered a couple of them because at that point she was so much more comfortable wearing just a jogging bra because it would just hold everything down. I know this story seems silly, but it really ruled a lot of my mom's life of how people looked at her with her breasts. She really felt to some degree in other people's eyes, it defined her to them, if that makes sense. And so, my mom got a couple of these bras and she would say, whenever I wear them, I feel so much more confident about myself. I feel so much better about myself. And earlier when I was growing up, these kind of conversations my mom would say to me, and she'd say, this is going to be so great for you when you have a wife because then you'll understand these issues with women. I think she missed the mark on that one. But, and that was what it was about. It was about my mom being more confident in her own skin. And then when she got sober, it started getting better. And I can remember probably 2 to 3 years into my mom being sober, she started wearing a lot of V-neck t-shirts, which she would never have worn before. I tell this story on my vlog as well that I've told it a long time ago. My mom used to have 2 friends. It was the 3 of them. They would go out to dinner or go out for each other's birthdays. And, so they would always get each other gifts for their birthdays and stuff. And they were lifelong friends. They lived in the same street together, raised their kids together and stuff like that. And one year, this was when I was in high school, one of the women bought my mom this sweater that was a sweater vest and it had apples all over it. And it was cute. It was a teacher sweater, And I remember my mom looked at me and she held it up and she goes, is this how people see me? She was like, this is not how I feel inside of myself. Is this how people see me? And, it was an interesting comment because I really did feel like my mom dressed and acted much to how people thought that she should. And she did that for much of her life, Only at about 53 or 54 did she start do something differently. And she passed away at 64, And so I look at that and I think my mom lived her life so much for the happiness or other people or not to make other people uncomfortable. It was for years, I would say to people, when they would say things to me oh, do you have a girlfriend? I wouldn't say, now with Alex, I've been completely different with this, but for years I wouldn't say, no, I have a boyfriend that I live with and we're basically, married. I wouldn't say that because of their level of being uncomfortable, right? So I lived much of my life to making other people comfortable. Tucker's about to walk into the ring light. He's down here wanting lots of pets, aren't you? Aren't you, Betty? He said, well, if I could just get up into the video. So, I think that much of what we do in life is about making other people happy. And why do we do that when it's our life, We don't have to be rude. We don't have to be disrespectful. But at the same time, we should be living our lives to make ourselves happy, right? Shouldn't we be doing that? And I can remember when my mom started, I've told this too, towards the end of her life, she only wore 2 colors, black and hot pink. And those were her favorite colors. And she kind of had this costume that she developed, which was a V-neck black t-shirt and black little pedal pusher pants, And she wore stacked black sandals because she was real short. And she would say, I don't care if people look at my breasts anymore. Look at my cleavage all you want. If that's what you want to do, look at my cleavage. She didn't care anymore. And she had let go of that. But at the same time, it made me sad that it took for her to get to 53. And I'm 49 and I'm still struggling with that, and yet it made me sad back then and I didn't learn the lesson. So if you're younger and you see yourself doing these things to make other people happy, do things to make yourself happy. Life is really, really short. All right, let's read another meditation. Tucker, you want to sit down here for just a second, buddy, okay? Let's read from, let's see what they both say. Journey to the Heart, July 7th. Bum, 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 bum. Recognize the signs. I have no idea what that's about, so hold on a second. And then let's look in the language of letting go. I love this book so much. This is the sister book to Codependent No More. July 7th. Getting it all out. Let's read this one. This looks good. Getting it all out, July 7th. Let yourself have a good gripe session. Woman from Sex and Addiction, Charlotte, which was written by Charlotte Davis Castle, PhD. Get it out. Go ahead. Get it all out. Once we begin recovery, we may feel like it's not okay to gripe and complain. We may tell ourselves that if we were really working a good program, we wouldn't need to complain. What does that mean? We won't have feelings? We won't feel overwhelmed? We won't need to blow off steam or work through some not so pleasant, not so perfect, and not so pretty parts of life? We can let ourselves get our feelings out, take risks, and be vulnerable with others. We don't have to be all put together all the time. Amen. That sounds, I said that, she didn't say that. That sounds more like codependency than recovery. Getting it all out doesn't mean we need to be victims. It doesn't mean we need to revel in our misery, finding status in our martyrdom. It doesn't mean we won't go on to set boundaries. It doesn't mean we won't take care of ourselves. Sometimes, getting it all out is an essential part of taking care of ourselves. We reach a point of surrender so we can move forward. Self-disclosure does not mean only quietly reporting our feelings. It means we occasionally take the risk to share our human side, the side with fear, sadness, hurt, rage, unreasonable anger, weariness, or lack of faith. We can let our humanity show. In the process, we give others permission to be human too. Together. Oh no, I didn't do that. Together. People have their not so together moments. Sometimes falling apart, getting it all out, is how we get put back together. Today, I will let it all out if I need a release. Wow. You know, so I've talked on here a lot about the period of my life where I was very negative and I had no emotional sobriety, no spiritual foundation, and I wasn't going to meetings. I complained and I griped then, and I complain and I gripe now. The way I do it today and where and how I do it has changed. It's like tools that I have in my toolbox, right? And Tanya and I were just talking about this last night when I was driving around, and we went to Meijer and we each got a Dr. Pepper, and then we were driving around talking. And we were talking about things that we take to our sponsors and things that we just share with each other. And I said, you know, like, not everything do I need to take to my sponsor. We both have the same sponsor. And I said, you know, sometimes I drive around and I talk to you, and things that were bothering me or whatever, I like feel much better about, you know. And she's like, oh my God, I'm the same way. And I said, and then things that like after a day or two, or like in the moment even, when I can realize like this is a big red flag moment, like this is really bothering me, those are things that I pick up the phone and I call my sponsor about, that I need to take action on, or that I need somebody to point out the spiritual part of that, you know, because like I look at things that God is in everything, and sometimes I can't find God in the things, you know, that I'm looking at. I'm like, God is not in this anywhere, right? Well, I don't know. You know, like recently my sponsor said to me, you can't pick your agnosticism, because I was really struggling giving something up to God, letting go of something. And she said, you know, you can't believe that God can do all this, this, and this, but God can't do that. And I was like, well, that's true, you know. So today, I use my sponsor, as a person to lean on and as a support system. I use my best friend. I talk to Alex about a lot of stuff, you know. And what I realize is, my complaints have gotten much shorter. I don't find this need today to go on and on and on about issues. And, you know, like, once I've kind of gotten it out and I feel heard, I've always been somebody that, like, if I vent, I feel better, right? So, like, even back in the day, like, you know, if I would just vent and I got it out to somebody and, you know, I felt 100% better, whether that was in a meeting. I've gone off in meetings before, not gone off, but like I've shared like what's going on with me. And that has been so powerful to me before, you know, and then to have people come up to me the next week or the week after and say, you know, like, hey, you were really struggling with this. How are you doing? And be like, oh my God, I didn't even realize how much work and growth I've done in the last 2 weeks, because I feel so much better now than I did 2 weeks ago. Sometimes it's just telling on yourself, you know. That's a saying that we have in sobriety, telling yourself, you know, tell what you're going through, talk about what you're going through. There's power in that, right? When we push it down and we don't talk about the stuff that's bothering us, and I'm not talking about all the stuff like my coffee is cold or whatever, you know, it gets so old to me, the people that you're around that complain nonstop about everything, that can find no gratitude in their life. I have very little time for that. I really do. You know, and back in the day, like, I kind of wouldn't say anything. Today, I'm quick to say something. I mean, if somebody's just like complain, I'm like, look, you know what? You have an amazing life, all right? You have some struggles. We all do. Be grateful for what you have. We should all be grateful for what we have. And, you know, and I've had to have people get in my face and say that in the past too, you know, and I'm thankful for that today. So I don't know. It's like getting stuff off of our chest. I don't even know that I necessarily call that gripes and complaints. It's just sometimes we need to vent. Sometimes we just need to let it out, you know? When I was growing up, there was a column in the newspaper, and it was called Let It Out, and my mom loved it. It was like her favorite thing to read, besides the obituaries, which she would read first every day. I'd say, Mom, why do you always read the obituaries first? And she'd say, in case somebody passed away, I have to know, you know? So anyway, But my mom, I would always come down and she'd be sitting there reading the obituaries with her cup of coffee in the morning. But there was this, I think it was on Sundays maybe, or Saturdays, and it was this column called Let It Out. Maybe it was every week, or every day, I don't know. But literally, people could just write in and say whatever they wanted to say. Like, the Indianapolis Colts suck, they're a horrible football team. Or, Judy Smith, who, I wouldn't say names, but it would say, like, the woman that lives 3 doors down from me hasn't mowed her lawn in 2 weeks. She needs to get on it. I mean, it was hilarious, right? And it was just people letting it out, you know? So maybe from time to time, we all just need to let it out, you know? Whether that's in a journal, which is a really safe place, or praying to God, or talking to our best friend. If you're not a spiritual person, find people in your life that you can talk to about stuff, you know? And just say, and ask, can I vent right now for a second? You know, can I let some things off my chest? Tanya and I always do that. We always say, can I vent for a second, you know? Because maybe the other person's not ready to hear that. Maybe they're not in a space to receive it, you know? Maybe they've had a really tough day and they don't really want to hear you go off about the pettiness of your life. Or maybe you have some very serious stuff going on, and in that case, maybe you need to take it to somebody that you trust. Like with me, that's my sponsor, you know? So anyway, those are some great meditations. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.